With more than 12 million inhabitants speaking 300 languages, London is one of the world's biggest global cities. Even though the cityscape reflects the need for re-establishing citizens' connection to nature, it was one of the most polluted cities in Europe till the middle of the 20th century. In UK, there are more than 200 city farms and more than 1,000 community gardens, and London has the biggest ones. In the next short documentary, our aim is not only to discover the inner life of these gardens, but to inspire those who ever had an idea to settle a plant or create a community garden with neighbors or friends. Our first way goes to the Tulse Hill station, where we can find one of the biggest allotments in London, Rosendale.
This particular site's been here since the 1920s. The allotment movement in Britain began originally in rural areas, so not in the city, and it was because of the industrialisation of agriculture. Before then, many peasants, labourers in the fields, had, as part of their contract with a farmer, had a bit of land. But farmers began to realise that they could make a lot more money with a much larger farm, so they took away all the common land from the people and enclosed it with fences or hedges, and people were left with very low wages, nowhere to grow their food for themselves, and became very poor or hungry, or had to move to the cities to find jobs. Personally, I think that allotments are fantastic places because you get every sort of person in a society here, and everybody shares a common interest, so everybody here is interested in food growing. So perhaps in your daily life, if you go to an office, you mix with only your own type of people. Whereas here at the allotments, there's people from every different ethnic community, every different social class, and because you share this interest in food growing, everyone's prepared to speak to one another, and you're on common ground in a way. You're sharing this one interest, and people who perhaps are less educated, who maybe even illiterate, can share their knowledge and experience with you in a way that in the wider society perhaps wouldn't happen. There are lots of concerns about the quality of food, about the ethics of food growing, the things like food miles, so the issue of food being grown in, say, Africa and brought to Britain concerns people. So there's a sort of political interest in food growing and in the reasons why it might be good to grow food. Okay, lots of children these days know very little about either food or nature generally. I know statistically that a lot of children are now, parents are so frightened to let their children outside that they spend a lot of time just watching TV, playing video games, and they aren't allowed to sort of play and interact outside in wild places or even gardens. Parents don't like them to get dirty. They're anxious about them, touching the dirt and getting germs. And personally, I think it's really important for children to learn by experience, not by being taught something in a book at school or on a video, but actually to experience the outside world. And an allotment is a very safe place for them to see wildlife in action, to see how things grow, to understand the time and commitment it takes to grow something for us to eat. So it's not just something you walk into a supermarket to buy, but somebody has spent a lot of time tending that crop before it gets to the shelf for you to go and buy it. Here people grow traditional root crops, British root crops like carrots, potatoes, beetroot, parsnips. They grow salad crops, beans, peas. They grow tomatoes. Now more people are growing Mediterranean crops like aubergine, peppers, chilies, lots of pumpkins, squash, sweet corn, obviously lots of trees. You can see apple trees, pear trees, plum trees. People grow strawberries, raspberries. Those are things that are quite easy to grow that children really enjoy as well, the soft fruits. So people are growing grapes, people make wine here. Other people are growing wheat. They make they harvest the wheat and make bread. So one of the plot holders has got a bread oven up the hill. So you can try anything. On one of the school plots they're growing flax to make cloth, so they can teach the children how to use crops in a different way, not just eating them. How you can make clothing from crops.
Spitalfields City Farm near the Whitechapel station on Buxton Street was originally taken over by squatters. Let's find out how they developed an outstanding place.
So they came along, took it over and started doing allotments, just growing veg and so on and so forth. And it gradually grew where people started to bring ducks and chickens, and then before you know where we are, we've got the farm. So that's the history in a very small nutshell about the farm. Spitalfields City Farm does a whole host of things. We're an awful lot more than just a farm. We've got, well, where do we start actually? There's so much that we do. We are very big on environmental education, so we do classes, we do tours for schools in the area, we do workshops that are curriculum linked to what they're learning at any particular time, which could be life cycle of hen, life cycle of frog, so on and so forth. We also do volunteering on a day-to-day basis. Now our volunteers come from all walks of life. Our volunteers can present with poor mental health, poor physical health, drug and alcohol misuse, homelessness. I think there's 16 city farms in London, which is pretty phenomenal. So it just shows you, in somewhere like London, if they can have 16 city farms, you can have a city farm anywhere, in any big city. Obviously the most important thing is to find a bit of land. You've got to have a bit of land there that you can use. And maybe I shouldn't say this, but if nobody's using it and you want to take it over, this got started by squatters. If it hadn't been for squatters, we wouldn't be here today. So, maybe it is about taking action, to take over a bit of ground and say, this is what we want to do. We're going to turn it in for the good of the community. And I think you have to get community and people behind you. You can't come in, just one person with an idea and say, I want a city farm here. It's not going to work. You've got to get a core group of really involved people who are willing to commit to it, because it is a big thing. And then I think you need to start thinking about, what your focus is going to be. Are you going to concentrate mainly on animals? Are you going to be big on growing? Are you going to try and do both? But you've got to get the people that are interested first, but more importantly, you need to get the land. But don't think ever that you can't do it, because you can. I'm a firm believer if you've got enough people behind you who are passionate about it and want it to happen, it'll happen.
So the thing that I'm involved in here at the City Farm is that I'm working on the community garden, so I'm the community gardener, and the community garden is something that came into place 3 years ago through consultation with the community about what they wanted to do with a piece of land that we got back, post-industrial land. It was previously used for parking and stuff whilst they were building the East London line that you've just seen there. They'd said that they wanted a community garden, so that's what we created. And already that ground, we've got it very, very, very productive. I mean, last week we took 20 full bulging carrier bags of greens off it. So there's a lot of food coming off this. So yeah, it's about bringing lots of different members of the community together to grow their own food. It's also very important from a point of view of social cohesion, because this is an area with extremes of rich, with extremes of poor, lots of different populations living here very close together, not always much communication between the communities, not even much communication within the communities. The city can be a very isolating place for people sometimes, so it's about bringing everyone together. Yeah, I mean, I think sort of like well-being is the obvious thing, that people sort of like get in touch with the ground, and doing things like that is sort of like increases people's sense of self-esteem. I think also empowerment, just through, there's something that's mysterious that you've got no control of, and then suddenly you've got control of it. I think these are sort of things that you see manifesting in people, and I think people just have a lot of fun. So, I mean, the thing to motivate people to come down and garden on my garden, yeah, definitely they walk away with food at the end of it. Sometimes it's a struggle to get people to walk away with food, though. What they really want to do is just come in and contribute and to help and to learn. So a lot of motivation for them will be to help others and to learn. But I'm trying to teach them to take food home as well, and why be buying food that's travelled a long way for it to a supermarket when they can be having food that's of a much higher quality, local, not sustaining weird businesses and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, definitely there's a lot of education here. For some of the people that come here, especially like some of the communities around here, like the Saletti community around here, a lot of them are from farming backgrounds, so it doesn't take them long, or a lot of the Turkish population that are coming here, farming backgrounds, it doesn't take them long to be getting in touch with what they know already. So there's not so much education needed there. But then equally, there's some people who know a lot already are sometimes closed to the new permaculture techniques and organic techniques that we do here. So sometimes if you come here knowing nothing, you can learn more.
For more than 30 years, city farms have provided enjoyment for more than 500,000 Londoners a year. They have provided the only opportunity for inner-city children to make the connections between basic facts such as milk comes from cows. Ken Livingstone, former Mayor of London.